Boxley sits at the foot of the North Downs, squeezed in between a mesh of modern roads north of Maidstone. It is also just off the ancient Pilgrim's Way, the historic route that pilgrims took from Winchester in Hampshire to the shrine of Thomas Becket at Canterbury in Kent, a distance of 119 miles. The ancient trackway followed the dry, well-drained southern slopes of the North Downs chalk ridge, avoiding the often wet and impassable clay lands further to the south. Inside the church is a memorial to George Sandys, a traveller, a divine poet and a good man who toured the Middle East in the early 17th century. There's also a memorial to a cat that saved the life of Sir Henry Wyatt when he was imprisoned in the Tower of London. Sir Henry was left to die of cold and starvation, but the little cat brought him pigeons to eat and kept him warm by sleeping on his chest. Boxley Abbey was founded in 1146 by William Yeats, Earl of Kent. Boxley Abbey was Cistercian, colonised by monks from Clairvaux Abbey in France, and was once one of the most wealthy and infamous abbeys in the country. The monks here devised an elaborate hoax by which to extract money from innocent pilgrims. A figure of Christ on the cross, called the Rood of Grace, was made of wood, paste, wire and paper. The monks would hide in a corner of the church and, using a system of pulleys, would manipulate the figure so that it moved its head and changed its facial expressions. It was a sort of sophisticated puppet and must have both amazed and terrified those who saw it. Pilgrims would imagine that they had seen a miracle and leave the monks a hefty donation. Another hoax involved a statue of the child saint, Saint Rumwald. The monks said it could only be lifted from the ground by those who had led a pure life. In fact, they had fixed it to the ground by a pin, and if they didn't think you donated enough money, they got their revenge by leaving the pin in place. If a pilgrim couldn't lift the statue, they were regarded with suspicion by onlookers. This caused particular stress to female pilgrims, who did not want their reputations harmed in any way. The rood was publicly burned after the abbey was dissolved in 1538, after which part of the surviving abbey complex was transformed into a house. Parts still survive within the present, mainly 19th century house, including fragments of the church and Boxley Abbey barn, a 13th century stone building which served as the abbey's hospitium and is now a Grade 1 listed building. The poet Alfred Lord Tennyson, 1809 to 1892, lived at Park House, near the village. He wrote his poem The Brook here, inspired by the local landscape. The poem ends with the famous lines, "For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever."